Coming up on Seminole Sports Magazine, the Florida State University track and field team is a national collegiate powerhouse and is getting the job done on the global scale as well. We'll take a look at the FSU track and field team and the 11 Seminole athletes that participated in the 2012 Summer Olympic Games. Women's volleyball team has some unfinished business to complete this year. How did last year's trip to the semifinals of the volleyball championship prepare the team for this year? 7 Seminole legends were recently inducted into the FSU Athletics Hall of Fame. We'll recap the ceremony and catch up with some of the inductees. We'll also take an in-depth look at one of those Seminole legends recently inducted into the Hall of Fame, Bobby Bowden. These stories and more on Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T. Hello everyone, I'm Rob Wilson. Every athlete's dream is to compete in the Olympics, and for 11 former and current Seminole athletes, that dream was realized in the 2012 Summer Olympics held in London. The arrival of the Seminole athletes to the Olympics is a testament to each athlete's ability, but also to the strength of the FSU track and field program. Here's Chelsea Rife with the story.
11 current and former Florida State track and field athletes competed in the 2012 Summer Olympics. Those 11 represented 8 different countries. The group is as diverse as it is successful. They made sure FSU was one of the most well-represented programs competing in London.
Oh, it was amazing. You know, I never had the opportunity to run into such a big crowd, really. And it was a great feeling to actually put that USA uniform on and represent my country, and it was an unbelievable experience.
The Noles represented various countries, ranging from the US to Jamaica to Belgium. But it was Gonzalo Barole, representing Chile, who competed in what some would call the hardest event in the Olympics, the decathlon. Barole wowed the crowd after suffering a series of unfortunate events, placing 13th overall.
When I was expecting to just be out there with the best athletes and finish top 10, which I didn't, but I mean, I'm still really happy about my performance.
Competing with some of the world's best athletes is nothing new to Gonzalo. He competed in the 2008 Beijing Olympics and knew he had to grind hard to excel in 10 events.
The training was just amazing. I was killing at practice, doing everything correctly. I was executing, I was sharp, and over there it took me like 3 or 4 days to just feel normal because of jet lag. But after that, I was back in competition mode, and everything was looking good.
And looking good he was, placing first in the pole vault. It's not just athletes like Gonzalo that make FSU's track program one of the most prestigious in the country. Florida State has been producing household names for years, attracting recruits from all over the world. I
was looking to come to the U.S. and start looking for the best programs in the country. And Florida State at that time had been national champions, so you know, I emailed the coaches and they liked me pretty much, and then came to visit, competed here, and they ended up offering me a scholarship.
Walter Dix was pretty much the reason why him and Charles Clark, you know, them being the athletes they were, and the Florida State program they had, winning 3 national titles, that was pretty much the main reason why I came to Florida State.
Iconic names can't be made without exceptional coaches. The coaching staff at FSU has proven their status, cranking out Olympian after Olympian. FSU is continuously represented in the Olympics every 4 years. The coaches have established FSU as a collegiate powerhouse in track and field.
You know, it's not about the money, it's about watching kids achieve their dreams and develop as both as athletes and human beings. And, you know, the pinnacle of our athletic success is the Olympic Games. There's no doubt about it. And to have 11 Florida State track and field athletes at the Olympic Games, and 2 more that probably should have been there, but injuries kept them from going. You know, that says a lot for our program right there.
They really care about you as athletes at Florida State. They want to get you to the level as a professional as I did. So they're definitely a good group of coaches, good staff.
It's hard to describe what it's like producing some of the top athletes in the world right here in Tallahassee. But when you're the talk of the nation, you don't have to say much.
When you have 11 athletes that used to study or are studying at Florida State that went to the Olympics, you know, it tells you something about the school. You have so many schools that are, you know, good at NCAA level, but then they don't have athletes competing internationally. So, I mean, I think it really tells you how good this program is.
Just as FSU boasts many titles, Nobles can't stop boasting about his athletes.
It's just a special feeling. It's almost like probably not as pure exhilaration as walking your daughter down the aisle for her wedding, but they're very much like our own children, and seeing them achieve the pinnacle of the sport's success, it's definitely a great feeling for a coach, and it's a moment of pride, and you feel like you've maybe done your job pretty well.
Pretty well is an understatement. Keep an eye out for more Noles in the 2016 Olympic Games. They're fast. I'm Chelsea Wright for Seminole Sports Magazine.
It looks like Florida State will be passing the Olympic torch to incoming and future recruits, starting with freshman Ann Zagri, who competed in London out of high school and just started at FSU last month. Under the leadership of the FSU coaching staff, Ann and the rest of the incoming athletes are well on their way to success. When we come back, we'll take a look at the women's volleyball team and go one-on-one with senior middle blocker Saria Freeman. And 7 Seminole legends were recently inducted to the FSU Athletics Hall of Fame, including Bobby Bowden. What does Coach Bowden think it takes to get inducted into the Hall of Fame? You're watching Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T.
Seminole Sports Magazine is presented by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. By Coke Zero, football-related chest bumps, high fives, and trash talk brought to you by Coke Zero. Enjoy everything.
Welcome back to Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T. We have Scott Kotick and Saria Freeman coming up in the one-on-one, but first, it's time to review scores and highlights from recent FSU athletic events. Here's Amanda Borges with your Seminole update.
Hey there, Noles fans. I'm Amanda Borges with your Seminole Sports Update.
The FSU volleyball team got off to a great start this year, but unfortunately it didn't continue as Miami handed them their first loss. FSU is ranked 6th in the nation, but this loss puts them at 0-1 for conference play for the first time since 2008. Junior right side hitter Elise Walsh led the Seminoles with 12 kills and 2 blocks. Despite the Noles' solid start, Miami stole the win 3-1. This was the Hurricanes' first victory over a top 10 team. Although the volleyball team suffered its first defeat, the soccer team kept rolling right along. The women's soccer team continues to be number 1 in the nation. The Noles beat out number 22 Florida and the College of Charleston at the start of the season. Florida State boasts 3 straight shutouts for the first time since 2010. Now for some Florida State football. The Noles went into the second game of the season with an undefeated record to face Savannah State. Severe weather forced the game to be called early, but that did not stop the Seminoles from raking in the points. In a 55-0 win, FSU scored 8 touchdowns, had 413 yards of total offense, and completed 20 first downs.
That's all for your Seminole Update. I'm Amanda Borges, keeping you updated on your Seminole Sports News.
Thanks, Amanda, for that update. Now it's time to turn to the women's volleyball team. The team had an impressive run last year, winning the ACC championship, their second ACC championship in 3 years, and making it all the way to the semifinals in the NCAA volleyball championship. This year, the team feels like they have some unfinished business to take care of. Here's Greg Christopher with the story.
Stepanova couldn't put away. Hurt with a big swing and it's stuffed. And it's match point, Florida State. Jensen, the pass into the net. And the Florida State Seminoles, for the first time in school history, will play in the national semifinals.
For the Florida State volleyball team, the 2011 campaign was an historic thrill ride. Coach Chris Bull's team rolled through an undefeated home season, claimed the school's 3rd ACC title, and became the first conference team to reach the NCAA Final Four. Looking back now, the Seminoles are still somewhat at a loss for words.
I still look back and it just seems like yesterday. It still hasn't hit me yet. Even whenever I look down at my ring or anything, it's so surreal. It's very exciting.
The feelings are incredible. I couldn't even, at the time, put a word to it. It was amazing, and looking back on it, it makes you want to do it again that much more.
Overcoming the loss of some talent due to graduation presents a challenge, but the experience of last season will serve the returnees well.
Since we have that core group coming back, we're going to have the experience to be calm on the court, be collected, don't freak out in tough situations, and I think that's going to really help us get even farther this year.
I just feel like because we made it to the Final Four the year before, that we'll be able to like lead and guide the freshmen, and I feel like they're already like at the level that we are.
And that group of 6 freshmen comprise a recruiting class that ranks number 3 in the nation.
When they first came in, I was very surprised at how strong they were when they just jump into the lifting and fit right in with us. The personalities are awesome. I think that we're all going to get along really well, and I think we could really do something really special again this year.
I'm actually really excited because my sister is on the team too. She's a new freshman, and so she's been here with me, and we're living together, so I'm so excited to get to play with her again.
The march back to the top in 2012 goes through one of the toughest schedules in the nation. The Seminoles face 3 teams from last year's Sweet 16 before they begin play in an improved ACC.
You can tell the difference between teams that have a really hard preseason and teams that don't. The teams that do go a lot farther, I think, in postseason.
A lot of the teams got great freshman class coming in too, so it's definitely the ACC is getting stronger and stronger within the years, and we're going to have to keep practicing as hard as we can if we're going to want to defend our title.
While last season provides confidence for this year's squad, it also provides the motto for 2012.
The unfinished business thing, that just got brought up, and I love it.
We have a lot of unfinished business. We wanted to get even further. We were hungry for that final game. We want to go back and we want to go further. I think that's a really good motto for our team this year.
Welcome to today's one-on-one. I'm Scott Kotick, and today we're joined by senior middle blocker Saria Freeman of the Florida State volleyball team, and we're going to talk about the Final Four today. The big thing last year, making it for the first time. For Florida State, for any ACC team, you were the team to do it. How special was just the magical run at the end of the season, making it all the way to San Antonio?
I mean, it was an unbelievable experience. Like, there's something that we can't take back, and we just knowing that we can do it and believing in ourselves. Like, I feel like that was like a really key thing that got us that far. And like, after facing all the adversity that we did face on the sidelines, like coming together as a team and still being able to go that far and push through and play hard, like that just kind of shows like through like with all those girls how cohesive we really were.
And you're off to a hot start this season, as high as number 6 in the nation. That's the highest ranking for FSU in school history. Congratulations, by the way.
Crazy.
But you have a very tough tournament that you go to play this weekend. You play a team like Pepperdine that made it to the Elite 8 last year. How much of a challenge does this preseason present for you, and how much kind of dividend is that going to pay throughout the rest of the season?
Well, I'm going into this tournament with really high expectations, knowing that we did really good in our first tournament and we were playing Iowa State, Cincinnati, and Tennessee, and we still, it shows that we can do it. And it was a huge letdown, going into Miami and losing, but I feel like this is a chance for us to redeem ourselves because we're playing really good teams too, and then hopefully we'll be able to win the tournament and get our seeding back up to where we feel like we should be, which is in the top 10.
And finally, let's talk about the home court advantage at Tully Gym. You didn't lose a single match at home last season. How big has the crowd support been as it's grown over the years since you've been here?
Yeah, it's grown tremendously. Oh my God, I can remember back the freshman year, we barely had any people, and now there's so many people there, from all ages. You know what I'm saying? There's no just one age that comes to our game. Everybody comes, and just knowing that we have support like that in the community, and then like our friends and the student section too, is just that's just unbelievable. And I guess that's just more motivation for us to play better. And I feel like we always play really well when we're at home. So, just hopefully we can keep that going and be able to roll through the ACC with that.
Well, Saria, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck throughout the rest of the season. When we return to Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T, we recap the recent FSU Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony and take a closer look at one of the Hall of Fame inductees, Bobby Bowden.
Welcome back to Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T. 62 FSU Hall of Fame members and numerous other distinguished guests were on hand to honor 7 Seminole legends being inducted into the Florida State Athletic Hall of Fame on August 31st. One of those 7 Seminole legends was Bobby Bowden. The FSU Hall of Fame inductions are always one to remember, but this year's induction was one for the history books.
Honor, elite, timeless, unforgettable, legendary.
It's every athlete's dream to be inducted into a Hall of Fame, to make a name for themselves that will be remembered and spoken of forever.
But this year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony was unlike any other. History was made as Florida State inducted the all-time winningest coach in major college football, Bobby Bowden, who at long last was inducted into its Hall of Fame.
I tried to put it off because I felt like the later I waited, the more meaningful it would be. But I really appreciate them doing this. When I came to Florida State, I did not come with the idea of staying. It got so good here I was better off here than I was Alabama. So Ann and I stayed for 34 years.
And after those 34 years of hard work and dedication to the Seminoles, Bowden earned his title as the winningest coach in Division I football with an astonishing number of 377 wins. There were numerous other accomplishments during his Hall of Fame career, but in his mind, there was only one real reason he felt he was being honored.
Well, I'd like to say a lot of nice things, but to be honest with you, winning ball games is what gets you in there.
Bowden wasn't the only one inducted into Florida State's Hall of Fame this year. FSU also honored former women's basketball star Beverly Burnett, John Ford Griffin, the leading hitter in the history of the Florida State baseball program, Christian Rayner, an idol of the golf program here at Florida State, and Danny Cannell, the quarterback that backed up Charlie Ward and made a name for himself as one of the all-time quarterbacks in the mid-90s. All were just as excited as Bobby Bowden to have the honor and privilege to see their name in the Hall forever.
Let me tell you, right now there's a lot of things I can look back at and say I've done some pretty good things. There's a lot of things that everybody looks at and weighs and says, could I have done it better? Well, when you're a part of something like Florida State, there's nothing more satisfying than being a part of the best here.
It feels surreal. It's extremely exciting. It's exhilarating. Man, I am so grateful and honored and humbled to be going into the FSU Hall of Fame. This is incredible. I truly never thought I'd be going into the Hall of Fame, and then to be going in with Coach Bowden, that's just, that's as good as it gets.
I'm excited, I'm very honored, I'm very humble. I think this is next to being, getting a scholarship, or receiving a scholarship at Florida State University, and graduating from Florida State University, not once but twice. I think this is the ultimate. This is a dream, and never once did I think that this dream would become a reality.
Not only were athletes honored this year, but two benefactors of Florida State received recognition as inductees to the Hall of Fame. Sue Hall, the well-known secretary to Bobby Bowden, and DeVoe Moore, a vital contributor to the sports scholarship endowment along with the overall scholarship funds here at Florida State, both inducted on behalf of their vital roles in the development of the athletic program. All inductees who took the field in spirit and in person were greeted by a warm, welcoming, roaring applause as their names were announced and honored at the Seminoles' first game of the season.
Florida State Hall of Fame class.
Not just to have their names added to the Hall, but to make it known they weren't just a Seminole once, they are a Seminole forever. I'm Heather Biltock for Seminole Sports Magazine.
It certainly was a historic night, and we welcome these 7 Seminole legends to the Florida State Athletic Hall of Fame. Next, we take a look at the amazing career of Seminole legend Bobby Bowden. You're watching Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T.
Seminole Sports Magazine is presented by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. By Coke Zero, football-related chest bumps, high fives, and trash talk brought to you by Coke Zero. Enjoy everything.
As we roll on in Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T, it's time to take a look at the highlight of the week, presented by AT&T. That play was just one of many that made the highlight reel during Bobby Bowden's career. Bowden holds the NCAA record for most career wins and bowl wins by a Division I coach. He coached the Seminoles to 14 straight 10-win seasons, finishing with a rank of 4th or higher in the polls. He also won 2 national championships. It's obvious that Bobby Bowden achieved greatness on the field, but he also achieved greatness off the field, which won him the hearts and minds of his players, fans, and even opponents. Here is an in-depth look at Seminole legend Bobby Bowden.
In 1976, Florida State University President Stanley Marshall and Athletic Director John Bridgers set out to find a new head coach for the Seminole football program. While FSU's program had carved a great reputation in a relatively short period of time, the program was nearly at a tipping point, having won just 4 games over the previous 3 seasons. The two turned to a one-time FSU assistant coach who was having success at the top level of college football as the head coach at West Virginia. Bobby and Ann Bowden packed their bags, headed to Tallahassee, and changed the university and college football forever. Bowden and Florida State earned national acclaim for knocking off traditional powers in their own stadiums. Not only did the Seminoles win, but they did it with style, earning Bowden the reputation of riverboat gambler in the process. The program became attractive to the top players in the country, and the university itself began to enjoy unprecedented popularity. It was a win in 1980 that proved to Bowden, FSU, and the nation that the Seminoles were for real. Bowden took a heavily underdog Florida State team to vaunted Nebraska, where the third-ranked Cornhuskers were eager to show the Southern team a thing or two about football. When the final whistle finally blew, Bowden and his Seminoles had pulled off the unthinkable and left the field to a standing ovation by the shocked Nebraska crowd. The rest, as they say, is history, but it is history the likes of which has never been written in college football. No school in the history of college football even comes close to Florida State's remarkable 14 straight seasons of Associated Press top 5 poll finishes. Any doubt of Bowden and Florida State's greatness was erased at the Orange Bowl in 1994, when his Seminoles defeated Tom Osborne's Nebraska squad for the national championship. 6 years later, Bowden and FSU put an exclamation point on Seminole football with a perfect wire-to-wire run as the nation's #1 ranked team and won a second national title. Bowden took FSU to a mind-boggling 28 straight bowl games and won 22 of them, including 10 straight. By the time he coached his last game against, ironically, the Mountaineer program he left to join FSU, he had won more football games than all but one person in the history of major college football. In addition, Bowden had provided the spark that lifted the entire university to the place of prominence it enjoys today. And he did all this without ever losing the enthusiasm, affable nature, love of people, and faith that he displayed when he accepted the job in 1976. With Ann always at his side, Bobby Bowden became the greatest coach in college football history. And we all got to watch.
Well, that's all the time we have this week. I'm Rob Wilson, and we'll see you next week on Seminole Sports Magazine, presented by AT&T.